Nothing surprises me about Sky News except the fact that they are extremely small minded. And there's this piece I'm going to play to you in a moment, which is Chris Kenny talking about the small mindedness, in fact, of the ABC. Any opportunity that Sky can have to criticise the ABC is used with a great degree of enthusiasm, a sense of, well, we're right and you're wrong. And it is interesting to me the way by which they've made this attack. They've levelled it at the ABC because the ABC had decided that they would play on Four Corners, a program that was organised, written by, and produced by the ABC, but certainly John Lyons played an important part as the narrator and the person who's in the United States putting the story together. Now, we must remember that, number one, this show on Four Corners in relation to Trump and his money would have been scheduled some time ago, that the ABC had been putting this together over many, many weeks. They were not going to hold it off as a scheduled part of their programming just because of the release of hostages. Also, it is worth noting, and I particularly was aware of this very fact, that the ABC had wall-to-wall coverage of the release of the hostages yesterday. In fact, it was frustrating. There didn't seem to be any other news around apart from what was happening in Gaza and Israel. Now, Chris Kenny, though, obviously didn't want to watch the ABC, wasn't interested in their overall in-depth coverage that just seemed to run on forever. In fact, he decided that because they played this Four Corners program on Monday night, that they were somehow disingenuous, that they didn't focus on the news as it was unfolding, and that, of course, Sky News are exceptionally upset that they actually focused on things like, the fact that Donald Trump's over the last 9 months has made some $3 billion from Bitcoin and from other investments of his family. So it wasn't. I didn't think that the Four Corners session was particularly breathtaking at all. So I'm prepared to criticise them for that. However, I do appreciate the scheduling and that they did play, particularly the segment whereby John Lyons confronts Trump over the payments that he's received since being in office. I get all of that, but nevertheless, Sky News could not let it go. So let's play a little bit of what my friend Chris has to say regarding all of this.
Just on the media, what do you think your taxpayer-funded ABC was broadcasting last night while we gave you that superb Tony Abbott documentary on Australia?
Isn't that great? So didn't you love that bit? So Sky News, because Tony Abbott's written a book, Australian History, a book I will never read until it comes out in comic form, because it would just be tainted with biases around white supremacy, ignoring the history of Indigenous people, ignoring what the colonisers did to Indigenous people. So it will ignore most of that, I would guess. Now, I haven't read it, so I'll stand corrected for anybody who might have taken the time to read it. But he put out a documentary. So here is Tony Abbott making heaps and heaps of money, I suppose, from his book and also from the documentary that Sky News would have paid him to do. But that seems to be important to people like Chris, that they were doing the right thing because they were advertising and promoting their king, who happens to be Tony Abbott.
Australia's history and rolling live coverage of the historic events in Israel. Yeah, while we gave you live coverage of Donald Trump speaking at the Knesset in Jerusalem, Middle East and global history literally being made before our very eyes, well, the focus at the ABC was a little more small-minded.
I think it's worth noting that there was rolling coverage from the ABC of the return of the hostages. The fact that they didn't pay the orange morons' speeches doesn't say that they weren't reporting the news. It just said they were avoiding the crap and the shit, which happens to be Donald Trump.
At the heart of this story is the integrity of the highest office in the land. And as accusations of profiting from the presidency grow, our investigation has brought us here.
I'm always a bit bemused by the fact that they are playing and advertising the very thing that they are objecting to.
To seek answers from the president himself.
President Trump, how much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now.
But President Trump...
Quiet.
Yeah, Middle East issues and peace suddenly didn't interest the ABC. It was more interested in Trump bashing and dressing it up as being high-minded.
Many Americans fear that democracy itself is being threatened. With a bitterly divided country and growing concerns from both the left and the right that there may be a breakdown of social cohesion, it's even more important than ever that Americans and their allies can trust implicitly in the accountability, transparency, and integrity of the highest office in the land.
Bitterly divided country. How about the anti-Semitism that the ABC has helped fuel in this country?
Oh my God. It's at that point, I have to say, Chris, take your finger out of your ass, because there is no organisation greater than Sky News when it comes to spreading crap about what is happening in Gaza and spreading anti-Semitism in the way and hate in the way that they do from Sky News. I find it it's revolting, and at some point, yeah. And the reason why I have my channel is to be able to just openly talk about some of these issues that we hear from the right, because they are inflammatory. To even make that statement that Chris just made is inappropriate. It's inflaming the situation even further in terms of anti-Semitism. It's pitting one side against the other, and whichever way you look at it, I think, from my view, it is simply wrong. Sky News isn't doing anything to enhance their position, and they are speaking to, regretfully, a base who are latching on to all of the things that they say in relation to the hate that they are manifesting towards another group of people. No sense whatsoever in any of the Sky reports that I've seen of the Palestinians that are being returned to Palestine, who have been captive by the IDF, who have been detained without trial, and there's no sense whatsoever for the suffering that the Palestinian people have endured. Sky News are an embarrassment. It is sad for me to recognise that on YouTube, Sky News has something nearly about 6 million viewers at the moment. Not all of them Australian, but they're spreading this propaganda over and over again about what's happening in the Middle East, and not once do they understand or talk about the devastation caused by the IDF. Instead, they spend all of their time blaming the ABC, their nemesis, if you like, for inappropriately broadcasting things that they believe, Sky News believe, they should be broadcasting, instead of talking about Trump and the billions of dollars that is made from his presidency. That is a subject that needs to be talked about, but Sky News, of course, won't touch that. And of course, Sky News later on in this presentation by Chris also talk about another time where they talked about the dysfunctionality of the Trump administration back in the Trump point one. So they can't let it go, but there will come a time, I can assure you, when it will be recognised what a disaster Donald Trump is and how corrupt his administration has been. Not only how much money has he made, but how he's helped all the sycophants around him enrich themselves. I'm sure that there will be times where we will all come to understand what that actually looks like. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. In the meantime, take care.